Midnight Brutality and Woodland Brutality 2024, working back to back. First Midnight into basically Woodland Brutality the following day. And we got there with just enough time to set up our tents and me to try to film an introduction for this video. I did so. Unfortunately, even though I did have my wireless lavalier mic hooked up, it did not record properly. The onboard microphones for my camera, all they did was pick up the shooting that was going on in the staff match in the background. So, I unfortunately have to do a voiceover now here. I'm first talking about my AR, which is set up specifically for the Midnight Brutality match. The only thing I have changed on this thing since I did Moons Out, Goons Out was a new handguard. It's a, I want to say it's a breaker. It's a breaker 13-inch, something like that. And I actually zeroed my EOTech. My EOTech at 200 yards was 2 feet high and 8 inches left when I confirmed zero after Moons Out, Goons Out. To be brutally honest, I don't even know how I was somewhat competitive in that match with having a zero that messed up. Nevertheless, the gun shoots extremely well. I've standardized on PMC X-Tech 55 grain M193. It's about a 2.5 minute gun, and I had no issues with it throughout the entire match. I could have run it during Woodland Brutality as well, but me being me, I decided to run a bolt gun. However, I decided to be smart this year and buy a 308 bolt gun that I could shoot in matches like this. So, introduction to my Tikka T3 CTR in 308. This is a 20-inch barreled gun. It has a standard 6-9 notched leg Harris bipod, a wilderness cuff sling, which is very nice, a little bit of hockey grip tape on the grip, as you can see there, which really does help me get a good purchase on all of my guns. You'll see it on the majority of the bolt guns that I ever run. And on top, I have the Discovery Optics Precision Rings, and inside that, I have the Leupold Mark IV HD 2.5 to 10 by 42. It is in first focal plane illuminated TMR, and this is the first time I'm really running the scope at a match. I have it zeroed for about 100 yards. I have my dope out to about 320. At about 320 yards, it's about 1.2, 1.3 mils low. So I figured that would be fine for the engaging targets out to about 400 yards, which we knew in advance. However, I thought there was only going to be one stage out to 400 yards. There ended up being two, which actually worked out to my benefit because both of those stages I finished in second place, which I was very, very pleased with as far as performance goes. But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself. The gun is set up really well. It balances just in front of the magazine well. It's still about a 10.5 pound gun as you see configured here without magazines or ammunition. The Tikka T3 CTR 10 round magazines are double stack single feed, and they are fantastic. They're a little bit larger than a 10 round PMag for 5.56. I had zero issues as far as feeding and cycling goes, and they're just an absolute dream. They're very, very expensive, but that's the way it goes with the Tikka. As far as my sidearm, I'm using my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 5-inch competitor. Underneath it is a TLR-1HL 1000 lumens Streamlight, and on top is the awesome Steiner MPS. I have standardized on the Steiner MPS for my pistol. This is my home defense / competition gun. It's the gun that I'm going to go to all of the time when I am going to shoot something seriously. And as you will see during the night vision section, there was a stage full-on pistol, which is actually the first stage that we shot, and you'll see it performs extremely well. So without further ado, let's watch my friend N go through the first stage of Midnight Brutality. I'm not going to bore you with the names of all the stages because, to be brutally honest, I don't really remember them. But this was a Predator-themed stage. You had to go over there. Next to that stump, on the stump, there was a plastic torch that you press the button and it lights up, and there's a kettlebell. They want you to hold the torch up into the sky, scream, turn it on, and then once you stop screaming, the buzzer goes, you grab the kettlebell, you set the trap, you run over here to the dummy, which, was it Billy? I want to say it was Billy or Mac from Predator. Can't remember. My brain is toast. But on the dummy, you have your pistol and all of your magazines. From there, you have to engage a couple of static steel plates downrange. There are also a couple of poppers, and you had to hit them in a certain sequence. So, pretty fun stage. This is the beginning of the night. It was like around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Heavy cloud cover. It did not start raining until later on after the stage was done. We were entering into the second stage. But then the rain just got worse and worse and worse, and conditions got really, really dark. It happened to me on Moons Out, Goons Out. The first night of Moons Out, Goons Out was pouring rain, very dark conditions, and I suffered greatly shooting just passively through it. There were two basic classes for Midnight. It was passive or active, and I thought that I could do well in passive again if the conditions were good. And in the beginning here, these conditions are pretty good, but this was as good as the conditions were. Shame on me, foolish me, I really should have gotten an IR illuminator, but you'll see just how bad the conditions get looking through my no-spec Gen 3 PVS 14. Anyway, let me show you my stage.
Alright,
yep.
There's the torch.
It's up here.
You got it? Okay. Do you understand?
Whoa, whoa, sorry. Yep.
Alright. When ready, indicate ready with the torch and yell.
Alright.
Go. Go.
I was the only one that gave it my all when it came to actually screaming. Everyone was like, ah, and then started running off. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's supposed to be a funnish kind of match. So put some effort into it. Setting the trap was kind of hard. It was, the piece of plywood was very soggy and wet, so it was kind of heavy, and that's the log that they had you put there was not very squared up on either end. Anyway, you find the balance point, it goes up pretty good. From here, you engage some steel plates, and then you move forward. Of course, once you get your pistol and all of your magazines. I figured let me put my magazines in first and then get on target. The Steiner MPS is excellent. The dot, to my eye, whether it's through camera or just through the PVS by itself, especially when it's actually set to infinity, is very sharp and crisp. The glass on it is very good. You can see here, there's almost no real light transmission issues. You will note, however, that my fiber optic front sight does bloom out, and I've been meaning to swap that out with a lower profile one that isn't fiber optic, because when I am running this pistol with night vision, which I actually do quite often, because one of the ranges that I have access to gets dark at night and I could run my nods and practice with my pistol, it does become a little annoying, but you can look past it. But I completely forgot to cover it, and no, I did not bring tape with me. I ended up doing pretty good on Midnight Brutality overall. Middle of the road, just like I did with Moons Out, Goons Out. The second night, they definitely had much better conditions. It was not raining. It was still overcast, but way brighter than what the rest of this match ended up becoming. I ended up pouring out on a couple of stages, and unfortunately, because of the rain, my recorder got messed up. It got real janked up, and I lost two of the stages at the end of the night. And they were the better stages, but they were also the darkest stages. So unfortunately, I do not have a full Midnight Brutality first-person match view for all of you guys to enjoy. This was a good stage. I enjoy pistol work, and I do enjoy shooting pistols under nods. Again, I stick with the MPS because it performs extremely good under night vision to my eye. As far as the spinner, you had to make 6 hits top and bottom, so 12 hits total, or spin it. I was getting really good momentum, and then I got caught with a magazine change, and then I just kept missing after a while. At this point, it was hard to really see which way it was going. I lost track of it during the mag change, and I end up just saying, you know what, I know I made my hits, I'm calling it, and just trying to save as much time as I can.
Call it.
This is my friend N again, running through stage 2. This involved all rifle, moving back and forth. High value target at the end of this one section. Once you're done here, clear your rifle with the high value target, and then you run around to the other bay and engage a static steel plate, reduced size IPSC at about 50 to 60 yards, and then 2 spinners on the left hand side from a VTAC. And you had to do it in multiple different positions and engage the tops of the poppers and then the bottoms of the poppers, or bottoms and then tops. It ended up being a real pain in the butt. Cool. But again, this is where the cloud coverage started to come in for me, and I started having vision issues. It would not have been an issue at all if I had IR illumination, which is why something like a Key with like a 3-degree head will probably be next on my purchase list.
All right.
This was the first time that I was using my AR under nods since Moon's Out, Goon's Out, and I knew with a good zero, I'm running a 5,200 yard zero on this thing, I should be fine. But you could already see how challenging it is to see these tiny IPSCs at like 30 or 40 yards. You make one hit on the plate on the right, bring the kettlebell to the position on the left, shoot in between these two wooden boards, make another hit, go back and forth 5 times. Then on the last one, you shoot across from the right to the left target for your high value target with a dropped magazine and one in the chamber. This gets a little repetitive after a while. It took a good amount of time. Again, not being able to see your targets is a real problem that you have under night vision, especially when they're small and that they blend into the background exceedingly well. I have my reservations with this match. I know it's supposed to be hard. I'm expecting more physical hard. You know, moving the kettlebell is nice to challenge things back and forth, but I think a lot of the shooting positions that were here definitely favored more people running active as opposed to passive. And just the conditions were horrible. But, you know, there's nothing you can do with the conditions. You could be out there and about, actually in horrible conditions, and have to shoot in conditions like this. So I have no problems with that either. But I felt like some of the stages were unrealistically hard as far as engagement distances. This, inside 50 yards or so, is, I would say, more on the maximum limit. But there are some stages where we take them out well past 100 yards. And it's like, I get it, but really does it make a whole lot of sense, especially from off positions and shooting targets that you don't realize have giant holes in the middle. I struggle with the spinners on this because the spinners are very small compared to a reduced size IPSC. Actually, I think that might have been a full size IPSC. You know, top of a spinner is what, like 6 inches? The bottom is maybe 8 to 10. Really not that big. I'm coming up with excuses for myself. Again, you can't really see anything. The EXPS 3 on this is as good as you can get for shooting passively with it. I have the dot almost all the way down. I had to bring it up just a little bit, but again, conditions were less than ideal. Contrast is a real problem. I'm peeking my head up over the EXPS to just try to spot the target and hopefully come down and see that my reticle was exactly where I needed it to be. This wouldn't have been a problem with illumination, and that's going to be a common thread for the rest of Midnight Brutality. I end up parring out on the stage, and it was to be expected. A lot of people parred out on the stage, even some people running active, so at least I wasn't the only one to do it. There is the par. This is unfortunately the only other footage that I have of another stage. These two targets are at about 80 to 90 yards, I'd say. The target on the left was like a 2-foot square. The target on the right was a full-size IPSC with a hole in the middle. You had to make one shot on the target on the left, then 2 on the target on the right, and move to, I think it was 4 or 5 positions. This was a very challenging stage for a lot of people. People running white light had an impossible time on all of these stages because there was absolutely zero wind. And if you've ever shot at night with white light, you pull the trigger once and you have a giant cloud of smoke in front of you that white light just reflects back on, and you can't see absolute diddly squat past it. So people were literally taking a shot and moving back and forth like crabs on the beach. It was kind of funny. At least with night vision, I didn't have to worry about that. This is of one of my squad mates, Steve. He is a phenomenal shooter. He ended up taking first place for Midnight. He's an absolute machine. But nevertheless, this was unfortunately the last stage that I had any sort of footage on. And I gotta say, I was kind of disappointed that my camera failed. But again, you don't realize how bad the rain is right now, but it was pouring rain. Conditions actually lightened up a little bit for this, but the last stage that we did was the trench, I believe, and it was no bueno. Absolutely no bueno. But with that, let's step into the light and get into Woodland Brutality. We start the stage on stage 4, and you're supposed to take 5 moving shots as covering fire, and I'm running a bolt action. 11-pound bolt action in 308. It was not designed for this rifle. This is one of the worst stages that I did, again, just because moving and running with a bolt gun, even if you're fast, is nowhere near as fast as a semi-auto. One of my friends was running an AR-10, and he set off, I think it was 6 shots by accident, so fast that I couldn't even keep pace. I end up miscounting and only shooting 4 shots on the move for covering fire, and fortunately I didn't get penalized for it. Thank you, RSO, for not giving me a hard time about that. This stage had a couple of static steals downrange. It had the same spinner. This is the same stage as stage 1 for Midnight Brutality. Kind of, sort of similar setup, but not completely. 308 here on this match was an absolute no-brainer. If you crunch the numbers, the ammunition that I was running is GG&G 147 grain. It was about 90 cents a round that I paid for it for 600 rounds. And it's great. Through this gun, it's about a minute and a half or so, give or take. And again, with 100 yard zero, this thing was more than capable of doing anything that I needed to throughout the entire match. The rest of the stage is all pistol work, and you're engaging some pretty far steel. That full-size Zip 6 about 35, 40 yards away, maybe even a touch beyond that. And you have to make 3 shots on that and 3 shots on a reduced size Zip 6 a little bit closer. And then again, 5 more covering fires as you get into the next and final position. From here, it's the static position again, and then all of the poppers if you did not hit any poppers earlier. I did manage to hit 1 popper with the pistol on the move, which meant I didn't have to engage it because it had already fallen down. Overall, the stage designs for Woodland Brutality as a whole were all very good. The individual that put together most of the stage designs did a great job. They all had a very varying difficulty to them. Some stages really favored one type of rifle. One stage really favored another type of rifle, whether it be cartridge or overall design and limitations and capacity. Like some stages you can get away with a 10-round gun and it was perfectly fine. Other stages you really needed more than that. Stage 2, my friend was just nice enough to start the camera as early as he could. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you not missing the stage. This is the first 400-yard stage, and one I was more or less very excited for. You could already see that the weather conditions were less than optimal. Beginning, start off with all these pistol targets. Once you clear that, you get to the first berm. From here, there is 4 targets, one at 100, 200, 300, and 400 yards. For 308, or battle rifle cartridges, you had to make 1 shot on each and then advance. For intermediate cartridges, for example 5.56, you had to make 1 shot each on all 4 targets in a sweeping pattern, and then re-engage the targets 1, 2, 3, 4 in a sweeping pattern. A lot of people that I talked to, especially people in my squad, were kind of upset about this, and I was too. It did not seem like it was a fair advantage for... It definitely wasn't an advantage. It wasn't a fair setup because they had to break their position 8 times, whereas I only had to do that 4 times. And yeah, you know, I want an advantage if I can. That's why I'm running 308. But for a lot of people, they lost a lot of time on not just this stage, but almost every stage in the match that required multiple shots on targets like this was a setup like that. I clear these targets extremely fast and easily. For the 100 and 200 yard targets, I literally hold dead center. For the 300 yard target, I'm holding at the head, and the 400 yard target, I hold just over the head. There is a bonus target which I just engaged with the last shot, and I cleared that in 2nd place. I crushed that. Not to toot my own horn, but that was a very good performance, all things considered. On to stage 3, that was run by my good friends Charlie and Pat. Shout out to you guys if you're watching this video, which I more than likely will believe that they are. This was another very good stage, and this is probably one of the more physically challenging stages, and you'll see why soon. But if you're really paying attention to how these stages are set up, they're fairly rudimentary and simple. Some of them do have themes. Some of them do have, titles that do mean something about history. There were a thing in history that did happen. But more or less, they're just good 2-gun stages. They're not what I've come to grow, know, appreciate, and respect with brutality matches, which should be more theater, more things going on. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one that felt that way. Some of my friends down from Virginia, they go to a monthly two-gun match at their local range, and it's $20 for 4 stages, and the stages are more extravagant than what these stages are. The first year at Woodland, we were shooting through cars, we were on the back of Hummers, we were doing all this crazy cool stuff. And last year, we were doing some cool stuff, but the pacing was off. 4 stages a day across 2 days was way too much downtime. They rectified that this year with doing all 8 stages in 1 day, which was utterly perfect as far as pacing goes. It was a very challenging pace by itself, and that alone, helped add to the whole brutality match of it, or the whole brutality concept. Make things hard, and I appreciate hard things. I'm not here to have no challenge. I'm here to be challenged, because that makes me a better shooter, and that's what I'm there for, and that's what everyone in my squad was there for. Unfortunately, this year they just didn't have that same sort of quality, and I wasn't the only one that felt that way. I don't know what's going on. I really hope that they can fix it. I really hope that they could bring a lot more character back to the matches as far as themes and overall feel. Like my friend said, it just felt like a $5 stage. Because for $20 you shoot 4 stages at a 2-gun match. If you're used to that and the stages are more elaborate than this, then for as near as makes a difference, a $400 all-day match, that's a lot of money. I know the facility's not cheap. I know paying for a lot of the support is not cheap, but it definitely seems a little overpriced in that regard. Am I nitpicking? Am I being fussy? Am I complaining? I'm just making my voice heard, as well as other people's voices heard. Was I happy I went? Yes, I was. But did I leave the end of it wondering what the future would bring as far as these matches for me? I definitely did leave myself wondering. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. This stage, pretty self-explanatory. The kettlebell was very challenging for a lot of people. I think it was like 65 pounds. You had to spin the spinner on the right, and then the spinner on the left was a bonus. Considering I'm running 308, I should have been able to do these in 2 rounds. Stupid me. I thought going in prone would be the ideal position. It was not. I should have gone off the VTAC. It also would have helped if I slapped in the magazine and actually had it locked in place. It did not lock in place, and as a result of that, I made 1 shot and it fell out. So people, make sure you slap those magazines in nice and hard. 3 shots and the first spinner's over. 2 good shots on the left one, and a third to finish it off, and it goes right over. That was a minus 60-second bonus on that, and something that I was very happy to get. Again, 308 is the caliber of choice to run at these matches, and if you're running an AR-10 in 308, even better. The next stage was, I thought, a pistol-only stage, but there were rifle targets that you had to engage. There were a lot of no-shoots here and a lot of things that you had to be careful of. Don't trip over the tripwire, because that's a penalty. Don't knock any of the wood over from the tunnels. That's a penalty. Don't shoot the white no-shoots. That's a penalty. Don't miss the high-value target, because that's a penalty as well. Basically, just be very careful, slow, and steady, and you shouldn't have a problem in this stage. And that was the exact concept that I went and attacked this with. I went nice, slow, and steady, and figured if I just take it nice and easy and relax, I'll do pretty good. And I ended up crushing this stage. My pistol work definitely needs work, but the Smith & Wesson Competitor is a phenomenal pistol. If you've never shot one, get your hands on one. I think for $1,000, they're really hard to beat. And again, the Steiner MPS is just glorious. I've defaulted to it on this gun. I still have to finish my review on it, but I don't want to take it off the gun because it's my main optic for my main pistol. But it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because I want the world to know that I think it is a sensational pistol optic. It was, again, make 6 shots, top and bottom on the spinner, or spin it. I spun it in a couple of rounds. I really drove it home at the end. It's a wonderful feeling to get a pistol spinner without any real misses. At the end, it was get over the fault line and engage all 3 of those rubber targets twice with your rifle in a sweeping pattern. I held basically center, and I hit basically center, and it was 1, 2, 3. The stage was over before you knew it, and it was a good stage. As far as the Mark IV HD on top, keeping it at 2.5x for this stage, absolutely zero problems. No issues as far as parallax at any of the distances that we've engaged so far. And that is a trend that I'm very happy to report was exactly what happened stage after stage after stage. The next stage was a bonus stage, the Miles 2000 gear stage. There were 12 guys in my squad, 5 of us from New York and Steve from New Mexico, and he is the best shooter in the squad by far. And they're like, you guys want to like split up in like New York versus everybody else? And everyone's like, sure, we'll do that. So it was us and a bunch of Europeaners, really good dudes. One guy was in Holland. I think he was from Holland. He was running full World War II paratrooper M1 Garand 1911 with a Mohawk. Great dude. Guy Charles, we've shot with every match at Woodland with him. But anyway, we got in position. It was capture the flag, 6 versus 6. We came up with a plan in 5 minutes, and we executed that plan painfully well. My friend had a GoPro on his helmet. You could see me charge ahead in the gray pants. We all got into our positions, and then the massacre started. I came up with a real quick idea. I was like, guys, let's do 2 up the right flank, 2 up the left flank, 2 in the rear, and as we advance, the guys in the rear will just leapfrog up. And that's exactly what had happened. And they had a plan and just didn't stick with it. One guy was supposed to sacrifice himself in a blaze of glory up the middle,
at least one.
And the other guys were supposed to go around the flank and, try to come up to capture our flag. It was either everyone has to get neutralized or capture the flag. And if both, it was a bonus. But they all just sort of funneled out the front. And I just watched them come out, and I just spent all of my 15 rounds in about 20 seconds. Apparently the whole stage took about 45 seconds or so. It was the fastest win of the entire match. And I'm very proud to say that, we did a damn good job. But at the same time, we took out people that I really like and respect, and they're friends. So bittersweet in a way, yes, but we crushed them. I'm sorry. It was just
fucking done.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It was a shock for all of us at that point. So we had 5 minutes before to pre-plan, 5 minutes to shoot, and then 5 minutes afterwards to do a post-talk to see what each side was thinking, what you were wanting to execute, how you executed it, what you could have improved, what you would have done differently, and it was a great talk. This was done by the guys over at One Shepherd. They're friggin' awesome. Les, Chris, and I can't remember this guy's name. They're a great bunch of dudes. Very knowledgeable, very, very patient, and they're there just to have a great time. And you know what? All the stuff that they do, Polaris Logistics, all of them were just fantastic. They're really the backbone of these matches, and they do not disappoint. They're always on point. They're always on the ball, and it makes these matches. This is what makes this match a lot of fun. This section was probably as bittersweet as it was to shoot your friends and beat them. It was also a lot of fun and very knowledgeable. So to the guys watching this, if you're one of those guys, kudos. This was a fantastic addition to the match. Second to last stage. This was our second 400-yard target. There are 2 targets down to probably about 200 yards, 1 at 400 yards, and that berm to the right was probably about 60-ish yards, maybe a little bit farther than that. Get into the first position from the right side of the fence and the left side of the fence. Engage all 3 steel targets downrange with 1 shot each for battle cartridges, or for intermediate. Again, it was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which again, I must agree, is the wrong way of doing it. It should be neutralize the target, move on to the next. Neutralize the target, move on to the next. Neutralize the target, move on to the next. So 3 on the right, 3 on the left, and from the left position, you can engage one of the poppers for a bonus hit. Using a bolt action, I didn't have to drop the magazine to make the shot. I was able to make the shot, leave the bolt closed. This is the first section, or the first problem that I had at this stage. You had to sling the rifle over your neck. And my sling, for whatever reason, came undone. Fortunately, it was a QD sling for a standard swing swivel attachment, and I was able to put it in and lock it in place well enough. From this position, again, do the exact same course of fire. 3 on the right, 3 on the left, then a popper. Then you're going to take that olive drab bag full of brass called Mr. Jingles, courtesy of the fine gentleman from Virginia and their 2-gun match. You're going to take that, throw it in the wheelbarrow, go to the 3rd and final position, neutralize the steel targets downrange again, 1, 2, 3, then dump the rifle in the bin, fill up your pistol, and finally engage the rest of the targets. At this point, I know where I'm supposed to hold for the gun. I make that shot at the 400-yard target, and I don't even wait to hear the report or impact. I just move straight onto the popper. I know I made a hit. That was me being overly confident. I know I'm going to get a very fast time on this stage. Running a 308 is the way of doing it. Again, an AR-10 and 308 is the meta. If you want to outperform everybody at this match and you're a decent shooter, an AR-10 and 308 would crush everybody. One of my friends, he came down with us, was in our squad. It was his first time running a 2-gun match like this. He came like the top 10 or 15 with an AR-10. I ended up finishing the entire match in the top 5 out of 198 shooters. I was very pleased with that. But there was only like a 37 or 38 second split between me and the first place position. So pretty damn good. Very impressed by my times. But again, the delta between anyone running a battle rifle cartridge, such as myself, and everyone running intermediate was a big step. You know, you're probably adding a couple 100 seconds when it's all said and done. The final stage is the trench stage. This was a repost of the midnight stage the night before, which unfortunately my camera did not record because it's not waterproof and it was pouring rain, monsooning at times. It said it was recording, but a lot of the files were corrupt, so I'm very disappointed with that, but it is what it is. This stage was a couple steel targets downrange, a lot of horizontal movement. The trench is a really cool and fun new addition that they put in last year, but it was significantly smaller than what it is here. Shooting a 308 in these ports with a compensator on the front is a recipe for a lot of sand kicking up in your face. So I make sure to clear the barrel out the front as far as I can, or else I'm just going to be eating dust. There, I did not do that, and it completely obscured my view looking through it. Again, moving and shooting, stuff I really like doing, but bolt guns are not ideal for that. If you're wondering why I'm carrying an ammo can, you were supposed to put all of your primary ammunition, whether it be magazines or loose ammo, in that ammo can and use that if you had to replace it. Just a nice little addition to make it more challenging. I started the stage out with 11 rounds, 10 plus 1. I missed the first shot, but even then I knew I was going to be a round short, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to need to do a magazine change no matter what, which meant opening up the ammo can and going from there. Last target for the steel and the rifle. Once you're done with that, transition to pistol. Big plate on the back, one hot hit on that, popper, plate, popper, and that popper didn't want to go down. So I tried to put it down, and it didn't want to go down. So I just neutralized it with 3 rounds, and that was it. That was Woodland Brutality 2024. So to wrap this match up, I've already said a lot about my critiques and criticisms about this match. A lot of people do agree with me, and I agree with a lot of people. We all sort of like culminated together at night. We camped out. A bunch of us camped out there. Had way too much to eat, way too much to drink at the end of it, and just bonded and bullshitted. And that's truly the best part of this, is being with people that you like, and then being with new people that you never met and bonding. You know, it's something that you have a connection with people. You know, you're all there to do the same thing, and that is truly the best part. The price of admission was a lot. The way that they handled prizes this year was more challenging because it was split up over multiple days. There was 2 nights for Midnight and 2 days for Woodland, and like you have 198 shooters for Woodland. How are you going to get everyone in one area, especially over multiple days? So at the end of it all, they pulled out random prizes and awarded them to people. They emailed everyone that, and that was that. But the biggest thing that I kind of had a problem with, and my friend is very livid about it, is like, we didn't get any t-shirts. You pay $400 for a match and you don't get a t-shirt. I know times are tough. I know things are challenging, but I at least want a t-shirt. You know, patches are cool. I have my morale patches on a lot of my gear, but I like having a t-shirt as well. And it's like the little stuff like that that really adds up, you know? It's the little stuff like that that it just makes you wonder a little bit too much sometimes. But that is the match. Overall, it was a great time. I look back at it and I'm really happy with my overall performance. Again, I could have probably taken first place in a couple stages if I just was a little bit quicker on the draw, a little bit quicker on my feet. But overall, considering I haven't really trained in months, I couldn't be any happier. As far as Midnight Brutality, I'm very upset that my camera errored out and I don't have more than half the match footage of it. But I left that, realizing it now cemented that I need IR illumination. Moons Out, Goons Out would have been much better with illumination, and Midnight would have been vastly improved with illumination. So if you're watching this and you don't have night vision or getting into night vision, what's more important? IR illumination and a really good optic if you plan on running passive. At least that's what I've learned. As far as Woodland, I don't think there's really much else to say about that, other than we'll see what happens next year. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. And as always, see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers and my Subscribe Star subscribers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to support my channel but don't want to join either of those, I completely understand. But you could still help by using my affiliate links in the description below, and or like, share, and subscribe as always. Again, thank you very much.